Moving on to week 4 of our 2023 NFL team previews here on bet.nola.com, powered by the Dattitude Podcast. I am your host, Jim Derry, and when we're done with this week, we will be halfway through these team previews. So today is number 13 of 32. That is the Dallas Cowboys as we move on to the NFC East. I already done the AFC South, AFC West, NFC West. If you want to go back and look at them, you can. But I have a question for you today before we start off week 4. Has there been a more underachieving team in this NFL the past, 20 years or so than the Dallas Cowboys? Go ahead. I'll wait while you figure it out. In fact, we'll let you think about it through the opening here. And when we come back, we'll talk about it. Well, we asked you a question before the intro, and it was pretty simple. Has there been a more underachieving team the last 20 years than the Dallas Cowboys? Last year kind of was a microcosm of all that wrapped into one. You know, at times they look like one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL. And other times they look like this just lost franchise that's like mediocre at best. I mean, the game that comes to mind is the Jacksonville game towards the end of the season. They led 27-10 with a little under 5 minutes to go in the game and found a way to lose. Get it tied up before it goes into overtime. Go into overtime, Dak throws a pick. Bam, game over. Jacksonville wins it. Dallas struggles to the finish. They do beat the Eagles towards the end of the season, but that was the Gardner Minshew Eagles, not the Jalen Hurts Eagles. There's a big difference. This year, they are going to be challenged again by those same Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, let's be realistic. I don't want to give too many spoiler alerts, but let's be realistic. I mean, anyone that's betting on the Giants or Commanders to win this division is most likely throwing their money away. And after they beat Philadelphia, it kind of went back. You know, the playoffs, again, another microcosm of what this team has been. They go and beat Tom Brady in Tampa Bay in the first round. Tom Brady's final game ever is against the Dallas Cowboys. Who'd have thunk it? Because Brady had definitely had his way with the Cowboys before that. And then who do they play? They play San Francisco and Brock Purdy, and they play great defense. They only allow Purdy to throw for 199 yards. Doesn't matter. They can't score any points. Dak can't get anything going. And the final score, I believe it was 19-12 or something along those lines. But whatever it was, the Cowboys season was over again at the hands of the 49ers. Another season, no NFC Championship game, no Super Bowl. Is they didn't change a whole lot. Sure, they brought in Brandon Cooks from Houston as wide receiver help. And in the draft, they went out and got a defensive tackle in Mazie Smith with their first pick of the draft, the 26th overall. Got a tight end, Luke Schoonmaker. Also, 2 guys from Michigan, first and second round picks. But you know what? Neither one of those guys are going to be expected to be starters, nor either one of those guys going to be starters. Free agent signings. And if you look at the list, really, all they really signed was a long snapper from Vegas and a backup tackle from Atlanta. Oh, yeah, and they got Ronald Jones as a backup running back. Look, this team is relying on what it has already. It's relying on the defense that got him here. We'll talk about the defense in just a minute, but you cannot talk about this team without, first off, Mike McCarthy has taken over the duties as play caller. Is that going to make a big difference for Dak Prescott? We're going to find out, but it's not going to take long to find out. And what worries me, though, when you talk about this team, and Dak Prescott needs to have time to throw the football because he's got obviously one of the more talented receiving corps in the league. He's got some great tight ends to go with it. I'm not even talking about his running backfield minus Ezekiel Elliott. What I'm going to talk about first is that offensive line. And it could be one of the best in the NFL, assuming they get all the guys that they think they're going to have. They got the 2 Smith brothers on the left, including Tyron Smith, the big left tackle who is now, I think, 30 or 31 years old. He's getting to that point of his career where it's got to happen for him soon. It's kind of almost a now or never type thing. The right side of the line, though, might be a bigger part of a problem because as we record this on Tuesday, Zach Martin, who has been called by PFF as the best player on that offensive line, still isn't signed yet. So that all-pro right guard, they need to get him in-house. They need to find a way to get him in there because PFF has this is this O-line ranked as the number 6 O-line in the NFL, but they're not going to be number 6 without him. And they have to have that O-line churning to get moving. They have to be able to protect Dak. And Dak, obviously, one of his guys is CeeDee Lamb, one of the top 5 receivers, I think, in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb has come out with a bang. And as we talked about, he's got Brandon Cooks to help him now. So these guys have help on both sides at wide receiver. And we haven't even got to their backfield yet. And it's going to start with Tony Pollard, because Tony Pollard, who broke his left fibula in the January playoff run, still isn't really back. So Pollard's going to have to be back to help Dak and be able to throw the ball. But with all of that we talked about, it still comes down to the defense. You look at the defensive ranks here on this list. 12th ranked overall, but their problem came in stopping the run. Are they going to be able to improve on that 22nd ranking? It comes down to Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons might be the best defensive player in the NFL, or at least he's getting there. He's one of the young guys that is definitely moving to the top of the list when you're talking about defensive stars in this league. The Cowboys have one of the best cores from front line to middle, I think, in the NFL. And honestly, that's what leads to me thinking that they will be better against the run. We shall see. Let's get to the schedule part of this. If you remember last year, the NFC East had the easiest schedules in the NFL. This year, much tougher overall. But Dallas kind of got a break. And if there's one advantage to going 12-5 and going second in your division, it's the fact that you get that second place schedule. And it really means a whole lot for these Cowboys. 18th toughest schedule in the NFL. First 6 games, they've got 3 of their primetime games in that window. Starting off with a game at the New York Giants, which I think for all intents and purposes, if this Cowboys team is going to be that team that we think they can be, it's a game they got to win. Then they play Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in their home opener. That ought to be interesting and exciting. A winning game at Arizona, New England. So in other words, first 4 games, no reason why they can't set at least 3-1, potentially 4-0 before tough games, a tough road trip at San Francisco and at the Chargers before you get your bye week. So if you can get to a 4-2 start right there, that sets up things for what I think you got a nice little run. Other than Philadelphia after the bye week on that November 5th, they got games they can win. Rams at home, Giants at home, at Carolina, Washington at home, Seattle at home, and even Philadelphia. That December 10th game really could be for the NFC East Championship before finishing out the schedule at Buffalo, at Miami, home for Detroit, and at Washington. I like the fact that the team is playing 4 games, except for Buffalo, really. I think those last 3 games are games that they can win. Yes, even at Miami. But I don't like the fact that they have to play 3 of their final 4 games on the road, including a game at Buffalo in what could be really ugly weather on December the 17th. We'll wait and see. The drum roll. I think they're going to win the division. I remember in the beginning when I asked, in fact, I'll put it up on the screen, when I had the opening slide that asked, can Dak and the Cowboys finally put together that big season? I think they can. I think if they stay healthy, they have all the pieces. This offensive line is a really good offensive line. Dak has got to stay healthy. I think that he will. I think their receiving core is one of the best in the league. And I think, again, from front line to middle, I think they're one of the best in the NFL. They are going to make that 22nd ranked rush defense a lot better than it has been. But to me, my best value, and I'm always looking for value. So their over-under we showed you was 10. Obviously, I like that. I don't love betting it at minus 150, but I think Philadelphia is going to take a step back. And again, I don't want to give swirl alerts. So when we get to Philly on Thursday, you're gonna already know where I'm going with this. But I think the plus 165 is a great value for the Cowboys. The reason being, with my projected record of 12-5, which is what they've gone the past 2 years, when we talk about the Philly schedule, I just don't think they're going to be able to do that again. I only usually put one future down on a Super Bowl winner. This year I'm putting 2. We haven't got to my other one yet. The other one, and I already got it at value, you can't get the same number that I got 2 months ago. This one, I will tell you, this is the same number that it's been, the same number it's going to be till the season starts, most likely. I don't have it on here, but I also like plus 625 or plus 650 to win the conference. All of those great bets. This is the year for the Dallas Cowboys. I know a lot of you say, It's supposedly been the year. I like how the schedule works out for this team. I really do. And I think when all is said and done, the regression of Philly is going to put Dallas in a really good spot. We'll see. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the New York Giants. Is Saquon Barkley coming back? Does this team have any chance at all to be any kind of bargain? We'll find out.